Hello, we're here. Sex Talk with as usual, technical difficulties. We're a few minutes late, but thanks for hanging in there with us. We had some audio problems, but we figured it out. So glad you're with us tonight. We're excited to get started on a really important topic about how antidepressants can affect our sexuality and what we can do about it. And before we get started, Ashley, take it away.
Welcome, everybody. We're so excited to have you with us for tonight's talk, and we have a great guest with us as well. We're really excited to have her on, and we'll get to her in just a little bit. For those that are just joining us, just to give you an idea of the format, the first 15-20 minutes or so, Natasha is going to give us some education on the topic. After that, we'll have about 20 minutes with our guest where she'll ask us questions, give us her experience, really whatever is helpful for her is what we want to hear from her. And then the last 20 minutes, we'll open it up for viewer questions. And so if you have any questions, either email us, it's sextalkwithnatasha@gmail.com, direct message us, write it in the comments. We're on Facebook, we're on Patreon, wherever you are, go ahead and write your questions. And so that basically consists of the hour. The first half an hour, we're going to do live for free through Facebook. And then if you want to catch the last half an hour, go ahead and head over to Patreon and go ahead and subscribe. That's at patreon.com/sextalkwithnatasha. And just so you know, what you get with a subscription, you get a lot more than just the live Q&A. It's a really great cost-effective way to get started with a sex therapist. Natasha writes weekly blog posts. You get access to this weekly live Q&A. You get homework assignments. So we have an online course right now that's talking about how to talk to your kids about sex. Just a whole bunch of stuff on there that's extremely useful. We encourage everybody to go check it out. And if anybody is interested in seeing Natasha professionally, you can visit her online practice, Symmetry Solutions, and that's at symmetrysols.com. So symmetry, SOLS.com. So now we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. Natasha?
All right. Thank you, Ashley. So antidepressants, super joyful topic to talk about. Whoop, whoop. And we want to first and foremost make sure that everybody understands that I am not a physician. So I am not going to be talking about the ins and outs of antidepressants, the different kinds, and all the complications that really it takes a medical degree to understand all of that. So I just want to give you kind of an overview and be very careful that as we talk about the concerns or some of the things that you might be dealing with on antidepressants, that you make sure that you do not stop any depression treatment that you're currently maybe involved in just because you've listened to this program. So any questions or issues that come up for you or concerns, please make sure and talk to your doctor who is possibly prescribing these meds to you before you make any changes on your own. I think I was reading that like 1 in 5 patients will change their antidepressant dosage or just stop taking them altogether without having talked to their doctor. And there can be some really kind of distressing withdrawal symptoms and things like that if you just kind of quit cold turkey. So please, 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 whatever you do after tonight, talk to your doctor first. Let's see, the next thing I want to just kind of start out with is when we're dealing with clinical depression, which is a mental health mood disorder, it is really treated from a medical perspective, and it is a medical diagnosis. And so we want to make sure that we are taking it seriously and treating it first instead of, I wonder, sorry, there's like some interference. I'm wondering if my computer and my phone don't like each other. Do you see that interference, Ashley?
I am a little bit, yeah.
All right, I'm moving my phone a little bit further away because I feel like isolated. Anyway, ooh, all right. So we want to make sure that we're treating clinical depression first, because the symptoms of clinical depression are severe oftentimes for people, can include, of course, suicidal risk, can include relational problems, and even one of the symptoms of clinical depression is our sexual effects. So please don't by any chance misunderstand that antidepressants are the only thing that are affecting your sexuality. Oftentimes depression is affecting your sexuality. And I'm still seeing that weird effect. So I don't know what to do. Do I have to hold it over here? Oh,
That's actually really good.
I have to hold my phone the whole time.
No, it's a little pixelated now again.
All right. Well,
What about putting it on the other side of your computer? Would that be helpful?
How about over here, you mean?
I don't know if it'll help, but
And over here?
Regardless, it's having a really fun effect with your awesome colorful shirt and everything.
Okay. Well, regardless, I'll try to keep it going this way. If that doesn't bother anybody. But it still does it. It's bothering me. See, if I'm bothered, there's a problem. And now I can't see Jill. Okay. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. You tell me. I think the problem is too is that this doesn't just affect the Facebook, it affects our long-term thing. So maybe I'll just hold it up here for a while.
Okay.
All right, we'll see how that goes. Sorry, everybody. Okay, so then the next thing is that even though there are side effects to possibly being on an antidepressant, please remember that there are side effects of being clinically depressed. So, okay, that belabors that point. So what might you expect as some of the side effects while on an antidepressant? And when we're talking about antidepressants, there are different kinds. And so the side effects that I'm going to be talking about the most have to do with SSRIs. And this is a very common type of antidepressant, although there are other kinds that you may, you know what, it's doing it anyway. So I'm just going to put it up here where it was.
Sounds good. Sorry, guys. Sometimes we just have to kind of deal with technology.
Flow. Hit the go with the flow. All right.
Go with the flow.
Go with the flow. If you can see me, go with the flow. All right. And so these could be like your Prozacs, Paxils, Zolofts. Anyway, there's a variety of them. But some of the things that you can expect are a lower libido, lower desire. So let's just pause there for a minute because I want to explain the difference between arousal and desire. So arousal is more the physiological response you have to sexuality. So whether or not your heart is beating, whether or not the blood in your system is going into your genitals and allowing for an erection or labial engorgement, clitoral engorgement, lubrication, wetness. So all of those things are physiological arousal. Desire is more what's happening in your brain. Do I want to be having sex? And a lot of times these things get conflated, but it's very possible to have physical arousal when you don't emotionally want it. So the classic example is an erection when you're not, like in the middle of a classroom or something, and you're not wanting to be having a physical arousal response. Or when you're wanting desperately to have sexual encounters and have a lot of desire, but your body isn't cooperating through arousal. Like maybe you're not lubricated enough, or maybe you're not getting the hard on that you're wanting, etc. So those cannot always be co-aligned. So SSRIs affect, oftentimes one of the symptoms can be that it affects desire. So your libido is low, your motivation for sexuality is low. And this is of course complicated because again, this is one of the symptoms of depression as well. It can also affect, it can reduce genital sensitivity. And so it may take more stimulation to get the same results that you're used to. It can also affect or delay orgasm. So again, may take longer to achieve the same results that you're used to, and those kinds of issues. For some, it can, there's certain ones, and I believe it's Celexa, that can lower sperm count. So usually a doctor will ask you if you're trying to get pregnant or things of that nature. It can, of course, affect your inability to attain or maintain an erection if you're a man. It can delay lubrication. So it can delay lubrication, not necessarily that it will stop lubrication, but it may delay it. And an indirect effect is that you might have some weight gain with some SSRIs, which might affect how you feel about yourself and whether or not you're feeling sexy, etc. All right, so quickly, so what do we do? What can we do about some of these things? So I'm going to give you about, I think, 7 different tips here that we'll kind of quickly go over, and then hopefully with some of the questions that Jill has and some of the others have, we'll get more detailed about that. So Number one thing, I already mentioned this, talk to your doctor. But it's amazing how often, because sexuality is such a taboo topic, and because we're uncomfortable saying, I'm not getting a hard on, or I'm not having an orgasm, and I've never had these types of conversations with my doctor. It's amazing how many times these sexual symptoms go unreported, and people will continue to use an antidepressant without ever really having talked to their doctor about these issues. And there are things that your doctor could address. There are, for example, dosaging differences. They could lower or higher a dose. They could put you on a different type of medication. They could add a medication to the medication you're on. So there's lots of things that even from a medical perspective could possibly be happening. Another thing to consider as far as meds is when you take your meds. So if you notice that side effects are stronger after you take your meds, maybe you have some planned times to be sexual prior to that. Okay, number 2, talk to your partner. So we have some research supporting that those people who are on antidepressants and actually are talking to their partner about the effects and are able to be open about them will have less long-lasting effects than those who don't. So communication, as usual, when sexuality is important, especially if you're in a long-term relationship. Number 3 tip is having really good lube for women. To help with vaginal dryness, or again, that delayed lubrication that might be happening from the arousal physiological perspective. Number 4 is more foreplay. It may take longer to get to the point where you are ready to have an exciting, or for your arousal, for your desire to catch up with your body. So sometimes if you're willing to lean into the event and say, you know what, even though maybe I'm not experiencing spontaneous desire, like it's not just naturally horny, I'm still wanting to connect, I'm wanting to spend this time, so I'm willing to engage in these behaviors. I might start kissing and cuddling and massaging, and through that process your body might catch up with you, and then you can experience that arousal that you're looking for. There's some research, so this is tip number 5, to get physical in other ways. So exercising for 20 minutes in one study prior to watching a sexual film is what they had the women in the study doing, increased or doubled the measures of sexual arousal in women taking antidepressants. So maybe take a brisk walk with your partner right before sexual activity, or get on the treadmill before you want to get hot and heavy. So just kind of maybe getting your body physically aroused from a cardiovascular sense. So number 6 is finding other ways to take care of yourself. So making sure you're sleeping well, making sure that you are exercising, and making sure too that you are reducing stressors in your life. So all of those things are more like a multifaceted approach to having good sex, especially if you're on antidepressants. And lastly, I would just say psychotherapy is important, and sex therapy, because that's what's going to help you cognitively deal with depression anyway, and part of the sexual cognitions that go along with that. So those are my tips that are, we could spend a lot of time on all those, but I want to start giving Jill some time to ask her questions. So let's move to that part.
Yeah, thank you, Natasha. So let's go ahead and unmute Jill. Jill, welcome so much. Welcome to the show. We're excited to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
So we'll go about
glad
10
to be
minutes.
here.
We'll go about 10 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and break off the feed. For those watching, we're going to head over to Patreon. But for now, Jill, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you, and go ahead and just jump into your questions.
Yeah. So I'm 47. I've been with my boyfriend about 2.5 years now, and very committed, loving relationship, and we'll probably get married and sometime this year. And I kind of know that I need to communicate with him more about this issue, and I don't. And we have a very open and loving relationship, and I have this like hang up about getting excuse me, into depth about the meds I take. He knows I've suffered from depression. It's just something I don't share with very many people. And then another thing is, when we're together, I have no problem with being stimulated, no problem being turned on, no problem with, lubrication. It's all good. It all works perfectly. It's just to the orgasm is that it's just not happening. And I had told Natasha in a message that, with this loving relationship I have, it kind of makes me feel, that there's something, I mean, the sex is wonderful and I feel bonded to him and close to him when we're together, but there's something missing with that little piece of it not there. And I guess what my problem is and what I don't know what to do is I've kind of gotten into my head, well, I'm just going to finish this up later on my own time, because when we're in this situation, I feel like I'm going to take too long to get there, or if I get there at all. And so I end up just thinking, well, I'll take care of this on my own later because I know how to do it and I can do it, And so I guess I need help with dealing with that, or what I should do. Does that make sense?
Yes, you bring up so many good kind of components.
There's so many things going on here.
For sure. So one of the things that comes to mind immediately is just the stigma of depression to begin with. Like depression, sexiness, depression, sexiness. Like they don't really totally intertwine, right? And so on the one hand, I'm sure that you define yourself as a sexual woman and are, that you seem somewhat comfortable with your sexuality. On the other hand, there's this aspect of you that deals with this disorder that's really kind of, kind of just sucks, that you have to deal with that. And so I'm sure that there's probably maybe some issues for you in that regard of just owning what it means to be somebody with that type of a diagnosis and what it might mean to your partner. And is there some fear there of being stigmatized or being labeled or being seen broken or deficient in some way because you have
absolutely
a particular diagnosis? So I'm guessing that's part of what makes it difficult to talk about.
Yes, absolutely.
I think too that a really important component of treating depression is couples therapy, so that your partner can be educated about depression, so that he can feel like he's a partner with you in treating, and that you can really make depression not so much your thing, but kind of like this unwelcome guest in your home that a weird or something that you wish wasn't there, but it's kind of there, and you just kind of have to learn how to put up with it. And so I guess couples therapy would be a really good way, so that he can start feeling like a partner, an ally in your treatment, instead of just somebody who's kind of not quite involved in
right. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
We do this a lot with other diagnoses. Like if somebody in the family has diabetes, well then the whole family is eating differently, right? Or somebody in the family has a heart attack, everybody's got the healthy cookbooks coming or whatever. So it's not, and I'm guessing, especially because you mentioned that you are in this loving relationship, that he would feel maybe closer to you or more involved in your life if he was a participant in this and dealing with this particular problem. So I'll just put that on the table.
Okay. No, I've never even thought about doing that before. So that's great.
Yeah. Okay, good. And then, so as far, it sounds like, well, a few things. So some of the things that I mentioned, so it's taking you longer to orgasm than you're accustomed to, maybe when you were younger or not on antidepressants. And it also sounds like you are very adept at figuring this out for yourself.
Yes.
Right.
I was single for a long time after my divorce, so yes.
Awesome. So one of the things that I think we want to challenge is, what does it mean to have a sexually successful encounter? And it sounds to me like one of the definitions that you have in your, however you would define that, is that it should take just maybe a certain amount of time. And that if it takes longer than that, then you're moving into difficult territory where now it's no longer a successful event. So again, that's something that I think would be beneficial to talk about as a partnership. First of all, does this even bother your partner that it might take you longer? Secondly, what's so bad about having a little bit more fun and taking longer to get, to where you want to go, and you're going. And so making that and not having it feel like it's bothering somebody or annoying somebody to take a longer amount of time. And then
I know that I'm really hung up on that. I'm really hung up on that.
Which, by the way, listen to our last week
that
hang-ups, right? Because we talked a lot about how to deal with psychological hang-ups. And that is a hang-up. It's like, ooh, my anxiety starts building because
yes.
all of a sudden I feel like I'm no longer in that moment of just feeling the arousal, feeling the pleasure, because now I'm in this anxiety moment of, oh, I'm taking too long. And I guarantee you that your orgasm is like, yeah, I'm not really sure I want to come when she's worried about me taking too long, right? And so your orgasm has a mind of its
Right.
own. So we want to hopefully
Right.
into that, and again, engage with your partner and ask, are you in a heterosexual relationship? If I say him or her.
What was that?
Are you in a heterosexual relationship where I would say him?
Yes. Yeah.
So engage with him as far as what does that mean for him? So if he is a little bit, tired or takes too long, or how does he stay erect? Because, men can have issues too about concerns about lasting too long or not lasting long enough, all those things. So again, communication can really be helpful. The other thing I just wonder about is sometimes we need more stimulation, because remember, one of the symptoms was a decrease in genital awareness, or awareness wasn't the right word.
Yeah.
Whatever the word is. So anyway, it applies. So how do you become more aroused? So do you need like a vibrator, or like you're able to maybe manually stimulate, or however it is that you get off with yourself? Why can't you incorporate that into the sexual play that you have with your partner?
I know. What is my problem? I'm not shy. You can tell I'm not shy. There's something about this that I am with him. And I know he loves me, and he'd probably be like, all right, bring it.
Yeah. Yeah, right? So
it's just
I love that you use that term shy. I do not love the way that you said what's wrong with me, because we don't want to self-shame. But it is fascinating how oftentimes we can be confident, amazing women, and yet in some parts of our sexuality, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can show you that, or I don't know if I can do that with you. And
I know.
It's kind of like weird, right? But we feel that way about ourselves. So instead of looking
True.
at this as a problem or what's wrong with me, one of the reframes that might be helpful for you is like, maybe this is something I get to learn at 47 with a relatively new partner. Like there may be some excitement or some adventure in that vulnerability, because it will take vulnerability for you to risk, that type of openness with him. And it may not always go as well as you'd hoped and stuff, but for the most part, again, since you're telling me that you're in a loving relationship, who knows? I mean, who knows what this might start bringing about in your journey together, right? As far as exploring together. Yeah. So I think
I've heard myself say that I don't like to be vulnerable a couple times. So I think that's something.
It is.
I don't want to talk about my depression to him, and I don't want to talk about some extras I need, because I don't want to seem vulnerable, right?
Yeah. And we do.
I want to seem like I got it.
Right. And we do have a lot of vulnerability shaming, I think, in our culture, both for men and women in different ways.
Yeah.
Women, you don't want to be too needy. You don't want to be a nag. You don't want to be a bitch. You don't want to be like this person who's codependent, right? We have all these words to kind of describe women who might, like you're saying, need too much,
Right.
And then men, you're supposed to have it together. You're supposed to kind of be on the game. You're not supposed to be, again, needy, or that's like being too femme, if you're a man who's emotionally needy. So we really do a disservice, I think, in general as a culture when we play down these attachment needs that we all have and these intimacy needs that we all have, and we get very performance oriented. Like I have to present myself the right way.
Right.
I have to,
yes.
Right kind of sexy. I have to have an orgasm in the right.
Yes.
Being able.
It's true. It's true.
Each other, and it's like, wow, okay, well, your penis went soft, so what? Let's still have fun. Or you're taking longer than you think you should. So what? This is fun. We're having a great time. Or maybe we don't even reach orgasm tonight. So what? It was a good time to get, to spend the time that we did. Although, to a point, because I know everybody, likes to have an orgasm. I mean, it's not like orgasms aren't important. So
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to jump in here and we're going to go ahead and stop the Facebook feed. We're going to keep going though. We have lots more to cover. So if anybody's watching on Facebook, please head over to Patreon, go ahead and subscribe there and keep watching as we answer more questions for Jill.
awesome.
Thanks, Facebook.
All right.